Oh, yeah! That's the sound of another episode of Social Distance Drinking Club. You may be wondering, who is this not Yusuf guy in the upper left-hand corner of your screen? No, it's us, Social Distance Drinking Club. We're missing Yusuf tonight. He has other plans, but we are bringing you the good stuff tonight. Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good. I like how your "oh yeah" somehow sounds even a little bit more Flavor Flav than Yusuf's does.
Yeah, boy!
I feel bad, though.
Clock. I should have a clock. I didn't even think about that, but that's totally who I was channeling when I did that.
Adam, you open up, like, if you don't, for those who don't know who I am, it's like, people watch the show. You're part of this. People know who you are.
Yeah, but people are so spatially oriented. Like, me being here might be weird for people. There we go. See? Life just got good.
Yusuf, you look terrible.
Well, hey, thanks everybody for joining in. And if you're watching on the rebroadcast, if you haven't caught us live, thank you for coming in late. That's cool too. For those who are here with us live, let us know, what are you drinking? Tell us in the comments. We'd love to know it. And I want to know what you guys are drinking. Adam Green.
Well, in honor of our guest today, of Junkyard Brewing here, I went down to Casual Pine Central Phoenix and talked to our good friend Justin Curtis, and he said he really enjoys this Ken Dog Trails. So obviously I had to pick this up for the show, try this brand new brewery that we're going to help introduce you all to, and I'm going to tell you, it's really good. So yeah, that's what I'm drinking.
So is it my imagination, or did your hands shrink 3 sizes that day, Mr. Grinch?
I definitely felt like when I held the can, I'm like, now I know what it's like to be Yusuf. We'll get into that, though, later, too, of course. Inside jokes are always the best.
Very nice. Brett Berry, what you drinking, brother?
So I'm going to say what I just finished first because I got impatient, and also got from Junkyard the Tag Team Partners, a Blueberry Peach Sour IPA with lactose. I can tell you, 1 out of 1, Ellie's, my fiance, loved this, and I quite enjoyed it. And then I just opened what Mr. Green also has, the Ken Dog Trails.
Okay, so I'm sad for 2 reasons, because A, you guys are drinking some delicious Junkyard beer, and I looked at the local shop. We don't have it yet. We'll talk more about that in a little bit, but also let's talk about that Tag Team beer and the label on that and how amazing that is. Man, that is just like perfectly in that like not quite cease and desist territory, and I'm here for it. That is amazing.
Yeah, brother.
Mentioned Justin Richard. He says Ken Dog Trails was his favorite. That's, of course, why I bought it. I trust Justin, our friend there, and he says this is his favorite. I'm like, I will take that then. And Justin, to your credit, it's really damn good. So those are really good too, but this was phenomenal.
Can I just say, marketing idea for our friend Justin, Trust in Justin t-shirts or glassware? Just saying.
Or trust in Justin? With a little apostrophe replaced.
That's where I started. I think trust in Justin when it comes to recommendations works better, personally.
Justin, we trust in? There's so many permutations.
Yeah, in Justin, we trust him.
Yusuf's not here. I think we should really spend the next 10 to 15 minutes ironing this thing out.
He's rewatching this right now and grinding his teeth.
He's like,
God, I can't take a show off.
Well, I do not have the benefit of enjoying Junkyard right now, but I am drinking the most recent version of Rice Creamsicle. Well, I guess it was Rice Dreams, maybe Rice Dreamsicle in the past, but it is an Orange Julius with alcohol. I'm not sad right now. I grabbed 1 can. I will grab more. It was so good that I went out of focus for some reason. That was amazing. I'm in Happy Town right now.
To say, I expect enough of drinks for all of us, and everyone will be out of focus as far as we're concerned. But it's too early for that. Maybe not for Brett. He pre-gamed, but
Oh, fair warning. I went to Caps and Corks, and they had a keg that they kept back of barrel-aged Cielo Oscuro. And that's why nothing that I say in the next 30 minutes is going to make much sense. So good luck, guys.
Say that beer name 3 times fast. I can't even say it for the joke delivery.
Barrel-aged Cielo Oscuro.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of my thing when I'm down to Casual Pint to pick up these cans of the Junkyard Brewing. I'm like, if they still have Ghost Proton on draft, I'll probably stop and have a pour of it. Either fortunately for me or unfortunately for me, they did not have any left. That one kicked. They still had Hypermash Hydra, though. And I don't understand what's wrong with Arizona, with Phoenix right now. That's still happening at Casual Pint. So Justin's watching. He could tell us if it's still there. But it was when I was there about, 3:45 today. So
I think what you mean to say is they definitely did not have it. And Justin, if you're listening, can we get a hookup on Growlers?
Well, before we start going that road, should we bring in our guest?
I think that's a fine idea.
All right. So a lot of people, like in Arizona, maybe not Tucson yet. But oh, there you go. Justin says tiny bit left.
He's back there lifting the keg and the cooler as we speak.
And also just no. Whatever the question was, just no. But no, we were talking about Junkyard Brewing. I saw they made it to Phoenix last week, I think is what it was. And it's like, oh, that's a new brewery. And I know we all get excited when new breweries make it. A lot of them that we've heard of. It's like, oh, they're finally making it to Phoenix. Junkyard, I'll be the first one. I'd never heard of them before. But I saw the reaction that they were getting on those posts about being in Phoenix. I was like, yes, this is awesome. And then, of course, like, oh, let's see if we can get them on to talk about it. So we do have our guest here, Aaron, from Junkyard Brewing Company. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
How's it going, man?
It's going good. So which one of the Adams that I'm looking at, it actually invited me on this show?
Oh, that was me. It's my fault.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, blame him for anything that happens tonight.
Are you enjoying yourself? Because if so, it was that guy.
All right.
Hey, dude, first of all, you got a guitar on your back wall, so that makes you all right by me. I'm in. I'm here for it.
Yeah, at least 1/4 as all right as you are.
It doesn't mean that I have more guitars. It just means I had more guitar hanging hardware budget than you.
I've got one in the other room. It's all right.
There we go.
So we start off with the guitar contest. That's cool. That's what we were going for here.
I think first question's Aaron's got to be, what are you drinking, man?
I am sipping on our Grandpa Bill's. Hang on, let me find the camera here. Sipping on our Grandpa Bill's Pills. Yeah, we've done this one a couple of times. It's just a dry hop lager. It's got this retro artwork, like old school paintings. And you guys were talking about borderline cease and desist stuff just a moment ago. So I'll bring up that subject with this artwork. So we've got, we went old school with the labels. We've got deer, pheasants, ducks on this beer. And to avoid any copyright entanglements, I did some Googling and found an artist who died a long time ago, long enough ago that his artwork is considered in the public domain. And he's got a lot of really sweet old wildlife paintings that worked perfectly for these labels. So that's what's on there. I think his name is Archibald Thorburn. It sounds like an old name, so definitely doesn't have any living lawyers to pursue us on this one.
Well, that's fancy AF, and if you do your copyright math, that means that he died prior to 1950.
Yeah.
Legal
I think he died in the early 30s, so he's an old guy.
So I'm sensing a theme on the artwork for everything that you mentioned, called maybe tasty animals I like to eat.
Yeah, I gotta get some new ones in there on the next batch. Some like moose or woodcock or grouse or something like that. So,
I like that idea for a beer name.
the inspiration for this beer was my grandfather, actually, who's an avid passed away a number of years ago, but he was an avid outdoorsman and hunter, loved nature. So yeah, it's done in his honor. I don't know if he would like it because it's a dry hopped Pilsner. It's like 40 IBUs now. And the second version, our head brewer Corey told me that he accidentally just double dry hopped it. So yeah, and it's hopped with Citra too. So it's a Citra dry hopped lager. It's delicious. I mean, Citra makes a really good Pilsner. But yeah, Corey he could kind of let the cat out of the bag the other day and said, yeah, so you like this version? Yeah, well, I double dry hopped it. I accidentally doubled it because he was thinking of the lager that we had previously brewed before it and put the same amount in the dry hop. We did like an Italian Pilsner right before that, and it was like 22 pounds for a 20 barrel tank. And so he did the same thing with Grandpa Bill's and ended up being double what we did the batch before. But happy accidents, it turned out really good.
It seems like that happens a lot with beer, but and we're happy to have you here. Like Junkyard Brewing Company, Moorhead, Minnesota, right? Like you show up in Arizona, it's like that's new.
Well, Adam, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Thanks for
in the mud there.
So, like, welcome to the distribution here. Like, I was looking at your guys' website. It's like a small craft brewery specializing in new and experimental beers. How does a brewery like that end up, like, going across the country, or at least halfway across the country to Arizona and landing in this glass here that I'm really enjoying?
I think you really have to thank the company that we're working with to get there. So thank Tavor and their sibling company, Beverage Advisors, who actually instigated this whole thing and said, hey, we've got this Arizona market now. We'll pre-sell your beer. They explained to us how they would pre-sell the beer. All the beer that we would ship down is already sold to retailers who want our beer. It's not done necessarily through a traditional distributor. And I'm not sure what you guys think of as a traditional distributor down there, but maybe different than up here in Minnesota. So it would more or less the beer just goes straight down and hits liquor store shelves. Doesn't sit in a distribution warehouse anywhere. It's just an interesting opportunity that popped up to us. We've been working with Tavor. It's really nice to get our beer outside of Minnesota because then we get a little more. That's how you get national recognition, is you get your beer out to more people around the country. And that's somewhat difficult to do if you're based in the Midwest. It's a lot of people call it flyover country. It's just, I think it's a little bit harder for Midwestern breweries to get their name out as much as breweries that are in bigger metro areas. With that said, I think Minnesota has a top-notch world-class beer scene. I've traveled around to a lot of the hot spots for craft beer around the country, and when I come, I always compare it to what we can get in Minnesota and what the breweries are making in Minneapolis, St. Paul, our big metro area in Minnesota. And everybody's got their own special breweries. Everybody's doing their own cool stuff. But I come home thinking, man, we've got some world-class breweries and beer here in Minnesota. And it just doesn't get the recognition that I think it probably does, that the state doesn't get the recognition that I think it probably deserves for beer on a national level. But I think I saw that CBC was coming to Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Craft Brewers Conference. I think I saw that was coming to Minneapolis, St. Paul in coming years. So that's going to bring a ton of industry people to Minnesota and hopefully showcase a lot of the awesome breweries in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
I like that idea, but at the same time, I'm envisioning like all these like less than responsible brewers and owners like crawling through the tunnels of Minneapolis, St. Paul area.
Yeah.
Nothing good can come of that. Like it can't smell great down there to begin with, although I've heard it's a very clean area.
The tunnels?
Yeah.
I'm not aware of tunnels. I don't know where you guys.
Where did the Eloy live when it gets to like -2 million or whatever it is up there?
No, we just grow some more chest hair and deal with it.
But I think that's twice our guest has like verbally slapped you with the aggressive Minnesota and then that comment.
No, dude, no.
Hey, you've heard of Minnesota
Give
United, right? I'm trying to be nice.
To be fair, you are in the square normally owned by Adam Green, so
that is true. That is true.
Guys, we do have some good comments here, comments and questions for Aaron. Beer Bob asks, so all 32-ounce cans, are these all canned, growlered by hand, or do you have that big of a canning line? We could get into the size of these cans too. Again, I don't have usage-sized hands. These are gigantic cans. Like nice cans, Junkyard Brewing Co. Is that okay to say?
It's like a solid handful.
Yeah. Great question, Beer Bob. That's perfect. That's what I wanted to talk about. These are 25-ounce cans, also known as 750 milliliters. And the milliliter designation is important for Minnesota law because a long time ago when brewery legislation was passed in Minnesota to allow breweries to sell off sale from the brewery, this is like probably back in the 90s. They wrote into the law what the brewers wanted at the time, which was growlers, number one, which is a 64-ounce bottle. And then one of the breweries that was existing in Minnesota at the time, they said, well, I sometimes bottle my special releases in 750 milliliter bottles. So let's do that too. So we got growlers and 750 milliliter bottles. That's what's in law. And the legislature's been unwilling to change that ever since. And whenever we confront the issue, the wholesalers and retailers, lobby organizations just completely squash it. So that's what we're left with in Minnesota. We can either sell a 64-ounce or a 750 milliliter package size right from our brewery. We're free of course, we're free to sell any type of package size to liquor stores. But for us as a smaller brewery, it doesn't make sense to have two packaging lines. And so we put all our time and effort and money into developing our own. Thanks for clarifying, Beer Bob. We put all our time and effort into building a custom 750 milliliter canning line to package our beer because none of the smaller companies that typically make smaller canning lines like Wild Goose or Twin Monkeys, they weren't, at the time we built ours, they were not making a canning line for 750 milliliter cans. It's a really weird size. Everybody thinks it's a 32 ounce because that's the most common growler size. Really, these cans are, I want to say, pretty much exclusive to Minnesota because I don't see them anywhere else in the country. There's probably, I also hear they're popular in Russia. So they like their beer in big cans too, I guess. But that's about it. I'm kind of surprised that they're even on the market, to be honest, as a can. We probably should just, I'm surprised that these cans even exist and that we're not bottling our beer in 750 milliliter bottles.
To be fair, though.
So long story short, Minnesota rules dictate that we need to sell these kinds of cans out of our tap room. And because we don't want to buy a second canning line, we don't have space for a second canning line. That means just to get really in the weeds with it, that means 2 sets of labels for every beer, 2 different sizes of cans, storage for 2 different sizes of cans, 2 different canning runs for every single beer. Or it just gets to be like really complex logistically. And it makes a lot of sense for us to just stick with the same can that we can sell in our tap room. So we focused all our attention on making this kind of do-it-yourself canning line that has all the bells and whistles of a standard canning line that you get from Wild Goose or Twin Monkeys. It's definitely not as flashy or polished as what those guys are putting out. They make really nice canning lines. But our dissolved oxygen levels tell the truth about what this canning line can do. And we're typically getting real, what I would say is a real low dissolved oxygen content in the finished packaged beer. We're generally around 20 to 40 parts per billion, which is pretty good. And that just means the beer is going to be fresh for a lot longer. A lot of breweries are making really good beer now, and there's not as many breweries making like what you'd call bad beer. But I think my experience is that a lot of good beer gets ruined in the package by not getting packaged with tight enough quality control. A lot of beer gets oxidized in the can, and that ruins a lot of people's good beer. So I think that that's like the next step that a lot of breweries can take to improve their quality, is just nailing down their packaging techniques and really bringing their dissolved oxygen level down so that they can showcase their awesome beers outside of their tap room.
Yeah, so on that kind of same idea, like you know, talk about how important packaging is to you. You're kind of limited in what you need to do. Overlay the fact that you're the owner and you wear a lot of hats in your role, but like you're the label art designer, correct?
Yep.
So, like, do you feel like a larger can, like in a world where, you know, at our local shop here in Tucson, we have 600 cans available on the shelf. Like I shop by everything that I know and everything that I've heard. I have references and I have recommendations, but sometimes I just grab the awesome looking can. Like how do you feel like that plays into your decisions as far as like what you design? Does this larger format give you an advantage over other people because it kind of stands out on the shelf? Like what do you think about that whole process as the artist behind your artwork?
I think, well, number one, it gives me a really big billboard because it's wider. It's just so much wider than a typical can.
Totally.
So it gives me a really big space to work with, which is nice in some respects. And then with other labels, it's kind of challenging to fill all that space. But yeah, it gives me more space to work with. I think, like you said, it's very recognizable. Even here in Minnesota, we're definitely one of the top two crowler producers in Minnesota as far as quantity goes. So when you see a lot of that, makes our beer very recognizable at liquor stores because a lot of breweries are not distributing their crowlers. They only sell them. They've taken a lot of other Minnesota breweries have taken a different approach than we have, and they've chosen to get that second canning line and put their beer in 12 or 16 ounce cans and sell it in distribution in that package size. So that it's definitely setting us apart, even in Minnesota where crowlers, these 750 milliliter crowlers are more common. It's still a point of distinction for us. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot of positives to it, but it's at the same time, it's still a weird format. And it's anytime you go to a larger format like this, it's going to be lower volume sales. I mean, just kind of think of the way that beer is packaged and the volumes that it sells in. Like all the big domestics are in 12 ounce cans. They're sold by the case. Case size to 16 from 32.
Yeah. So this question was asked right before you kind of talked about what your restrictions were legally, but like obviously that's what people are thinking about as they think about like what they're going to do on their shelves and their shops.
Yeah, and the case size question, I can get to that in a minute. What was I talking about before we pointed to the? Oh yeah, we're talking about
your cans.
Labels.
You're talking about how big cans sell.
Huge cans in Minnesota, just giant. Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's a point of distinction, but it's inevitably going to be a lower volume package size. And to answer the question about the case size, we picked a case size of 32 cans because it just made sense for a lot of reasons. But then we heard a lot of feedback from stores here in Minnesota that like a half case so 16 cans might be more manageable with some varieties. And then, so long story short, yes, we do have what we call split cases, which are 16 can cases. I don't know through the logistics of beverage advisors and all of that, whether those, and I have to talk to Lucas, who's our sales guy, who's in charge of all our distribution. I can't really speak to whether those are going to be available for Arizona retailers, but it's something that we do make available for like our Minnesota accounts, North Dakota accounts. So yeah, it's not impossible. We have the cardboard boxes. This is what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
that's about all I can say on that subject.
So Beer Bob said in Minnesota, size matters. For all of Beer Bob's comments and all the commentary, I'm shocked he hasn't worked package size into his commentary. But we did have another comment question for you from our friend Justin. What beers can we expect in the future, especially ones coming out to Arizona?
I have no idea, Justin, because I don't know. I don't know how they offer you these beers. If I had Lucas sitting next to me, I could say, "Hey, Lucas, what are you sending these guys as far as options?" I don't know what he's making available as far as options to Arizona retailers, and then I don't know how that gets presented to. Which is why I'd love to come, not just because it's winter up here, but I'd love to come down and meet some retailers and talk to them and find out how it's going for them, what it's like on their end working with beverage advisors, how we can work together even though we're a long distance apart, all that good stuff. So that's definitely in the works for this fall or winter, to make a trip down, meet some people, see how it's going, see how the beer's doing.
Justin is one of those retailers, so I think he's ready to talk. I would say he's ready to talk turkey, if you will, to go back to your.
Ooh.
Yeah. So to answer Justin's question a little bit better, it's gonna be all across the board. We have like almost 500 beers on Untapped. We're very experimental we've gotten a little bit less experimental during COVID because we've really had to focus on packaging. We package 100% of our beer now. We haven't had our tap room open since this spring, so we've kind of condensed our experimentation into saying, hey, what like 20 or 30 of our varieties are our favorites here and our fan favorites, and let's try and like narrow down what we're making for a little while, at least during COVID here. So we've gotten a little bit less experimental during this, because we've got nearly 500 beers to look back at and say, hey, what could we brew again that was really good? Instead of taking a risk on something new that we don't have a tap room to experiment with, we got to package these beers. They've got to be solid. So we gotten slightly less experimental, but we still have a vast repertoire of beer recipes to pull from. So I could pull up the brewing schedule and tell you what's coming out, but I don't know what's going to be made available to you guys. So I don't want to speak out of turn.
No, for sure. Well, hey, looking back for a second, Joel gave us a comment and he said that Ariana Fonzie was an awesome can.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about that one a little bit. Oh shit, that's amazing.
Yeah, that was so. I've done so many beer labels, and because the brewers will be like, "Hey, we got this new beer we want to make with Ariana. Do something. We need a label." And so I just come up, like, sometimes it's just like literally whatever comes to my mind. And then it's fun. I always try to be fun with them. So like Ariana Fonzie, obviously it's like a play on her name. Fonzie rhymes with, depending on how you pronounce her last name, rhymes with her last name. And it's just fun, like the mishmash of caricatures. I don't know. I could tell you what's going on there, but I think it's pretty obvious.
I like that though, because it is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
When you're just like, you can't even really explain why you did that. You just did it.
Yeah,
I think
that's that's what comes with doing like hundreds of beer labels is I don't have I can't spend too much time. I can't overthink these labels because I need to grind these labels out and get these beers labeled and packaged and out the door. So we can't sit and stew on each label and go, ooh, Ariana Fonzie, is that like the image we're going for? Is there going to be a cease and desist? I don't know. It's like, hey, 1,200 cans, label them, sell them.
Did you guys see the Pete Davidson comedy special where he talked about the end of his relationship with Ariana Grande?
No, I'm not versed to Ariana at all, other than knowing that she's a celebrity.
No, I'm not saying I'm an Ariana Grande fan. I'm a comedy fan. And so he had a bit that was the most amazing thing because when they broke up, everybody was like, well, I mean, she really did you a favor because she told everybody that you have a really nice big dick. And he's like, and that's how she got me. She's like evil genius. He goes, I don't have that big of a dick. So now every person who sees it ever hears that Ariana Grande said it's big and they're disappointed. And that's how she fucked me twice.
Well,
I thought that was really clever. I don't think that's gonna make it in the label art.
That was a long way to go for a short story.
Yeah. Have you guys got any other questions for me?
Justin said, Hoofhearted versus Junkyard labels, names head to head. That'd be a tough competition, man. Turbo Water and some of the crazy stuff Hoofhearted has done lately.
I think my most Hoofhearted label yet would be Wharf Rider, which you guys probably I can't pull it up because I don't know how this program works, but if any of you three can find our Wharf Rider on Facebook or somewhere, I think that would be my most Hoofhearted label yet, because that is that's a play on Worf from Star Trek and also the Warg Riders from Lord of the Rings.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, I really want to see this.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That is amazing. That is amazing.
And he's riding himself too. I'll mess with that.
Yep, that's what's happening.
I didn't know that was okay for Klingon religion to ride yourself like that.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that one.
We have a lot of fun doing this, and like the experimental thing is obviously something that I think as beer people we're like, that's exciting because it gives you a chance to play around and mix and match, do what you can come up with. I know I saw this picture I stole from your guys' website, and that just looks wonderful.
Oh, me. I would like to be there.
But like just to be that type of brewery, I know it, so you guys have been around since what, 2013. So was it always the goal to kind of be the experimental brewery to play around and see what you could come up with? Yeah,
I'm proud to be able to say that this is what we were doing from day one. Like this is who we are. This is what we were doing from day one. We didn't kind of trudge along trying to brew 90s brew pub styles and then go, yeah, this isn't really working for us, but the guys down the road, they're brewing some milkshake stuff. Let's try one of those. And then we hit a success and we're like, jump on the train. Let's go. No, I'm happy to say this is who we are and we've been doing this all along. So it's been fun.
We lost Adam. He's got to read beer. But you did mention how like COVID has changed your approach a little bit. Like obviously the good news is you're still going. We know a lot of places it means you're doing something right. But how much has that affected you guys? Is there like how big of a change was this to, I guess, a COVID pandemic-ish business model compared to what you were doing before?
It's huge because we had a really bustling tap room. It was the spot in Moorhead. And it's completely shut down now since the spring. And so, yeah, the effect to the business is huge. A large amount of beer that used to that used to go out through the tap room is now having to go out through cans. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons. I mean, I'm sorry to say it, guys, but we probably won't be in Arizona for a lot longer than this pandemic. I don't know. We may try to continue sending little amounts, but I don't know how much we're going to be able to continue hanging around. We'll do our best. With all the, it's hard to reel back from a market where you've established yourself, made friends, connected with people. But like if the tap room, and I don't know what this is, we are where we are because we can't predict the future, and we don't know if the tap room is going to come roaring back, if people are going to fall back into those old habits of going back out for drinks 3 nights a week, or more. We don't know if people are going to fall into those old habits or if they're going to continue doing this kind of stuff. So that's where we are. If we need to pull back from that a little bit, that maybe that has to happen. But yeah, in the meantime, we're having fun with what we're doing. We're very happy to be in business while so many people are struggling. We're the whole off sale thing and wholesale has been going really awesome. Obviously, people haven't quit drinking, so that's worked very well for us. We've actually grown a little bit through this pandemic, which is really surprising. But there's definitely demand out there. It's just a different type of demand than it was before.
Well, one good thing is that this show caters almost exclusively to hipsters. So the fact that you potentially can get your hands on Junkyard Brewing right now means that you are better than everybody else after COVID because you had it and they didn't. And then you're just going to have to pay a shit ton of money for somebody to ship you a box. So now's your chance.
Well, I also feel like part of the reason that we're in Arizona is because we got for some reason, there's a lot of like snowbird type of connection between Arizona and the Midwest. A lot of people like going back and forth seasonally. Just off the top of my head, I can think of 3 people, 2 guys that used to work at Junkyard, now living in Phoenix, and one of our female regulars who now lives down there. I'm not sure what town she's in, but she now lives in Arizona. So it's just kind of strange how many connections that there are there between where we are and where you guys are in terms of people going back and forth for just seasonal stuff or family or other connections like that. So
yeah, I think there's a shockingly large percentage of Arizonans who, going back just a generation or two, definitely have Midwest roots, and a lot of them still go back all the time for families, even if they're not, snowbirds.
yeah,
Like, my mom came from southwestern Michigan.
Our neighbors are Michiganders too.
Yeah, our head brewer Corey's from Michigan, so there we have another connection. And my wife and I lived in Michigan for a couple of years too, so there's another one for you. So, oh yeah, Jeremy. Yep, obviously Justin knows Jeremy.
So Justin has a great question. What size system do you guys brew on? What's your setup like at your brewery?
We have a 10-barrel system and we have a 3-barrel system. We haven't been using the 3-barrel system as much. That's like when we come up with a really crazy idea that we would want to try, we do it on the 3-barrel system first to make sure it's going to work, then scale it up to our 10-barrel system. The 3-barrel system really only makes sense to fill a few kegs and put on tap in the tap room. It doesn't really make sense for production volumes, like hooking it up to the canning line doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we're just focusing on the 10-barrel system, getting more 20-barrel tanks for that. So we do a lot of double batch brewing where we'll brew 2 batches of the same beer, which go into the same tank. And the 3-barrel system has kind of gone by the wayside during COVID. But yeah, those are the system sizes. And to speak to Jeremy, he was with Junkyard for a long time. He worked the tap room as kind of a side gig for a long, long time. So he's quite knowledgeable. I can't. He has no official presence he has no official relationship with Junkyard at this point. I'll leave it at that.
Nice. So Aaron, there's a very special banner that we roll out every once in a while that when you have the opportunity to say, which of my brew houses will I brew on today, you get the privilege check.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay. I think you explained very well what it's for. But I dream of my former brewery manager days when I could have done something on the pilot system instead. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of breweries that wish they had a pilot system, right? They're like a 20 barrel or a 15 or a 10 barrel, and they're like, man, I wish we could just try out this idea before we really go for it. But they just don't have that right pilot system in place. And we were fortunate in that regard to have grown out of a pilot system. That was our main brewing system. And then we grew out of it, put in a 10 barrel system and said, hey, let's not sell or let's not get rid of this 3 barrel system. It could still be kind of useful as a pilot system for us. So it's been nice to keep around.
You know, Aaron, I'm listening to all this and I keep going back to you saying you might take Junkyard away from Arizona. When COVID ends, it's like, wait, you give us this and then you take it away. But I guess if COVID did anything for you guys, along with helping you kind of expand a little bit, even if it's not going to stay, is like you get to test your beers in other markets and just see how far you can expand. Like, oh yeah, I mean, like this is good. Like, and we feel pretty good about the Arizona beer scene, and this is a really damn good IPA.
Well,
like,
much appreciated. And I would say that's just a little taste of what the whole state of Minnesota has to offer. Yeah, I mean, this would be a pretty awkward podcast if you guys didn't like the beer, so that's going well.
That's true. I'm not just saying this because you're here. No, but it's like you kind of show off about what.
Right. Of what Minnesota has to offer, guys. Get your mind out of the
Big cans.
You can kind of show off what you can do, though, and be like, this is who we are. Even if you're not here forever, you could get out here. We tried, like, oh, this is really good. Now we all know who you are. Because I don't know about Adam or Brett, but I never heard of Junkyard Brewing Company before. You know, you posted in that Arizona beer group on Facebook. It's like, now it's like, yeah, this is really good. So it's like, is that something that you guys are like, this isn't the best circumstance, obviously, but you get to kind of expand a little bit and show off a little bit more what you and I guess Minnesota can do in terms of brewing.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to be honest. I mean, I'm not trying to sugarcoat this and be like, yeah, we're going to be around forever and like we're going to make some solid relationships. I'm willing to come down there and meet people if we're only going to be around for 6 months or a year, because I care about our beer and I care about the quality of it and I care about where it's where it's stored and is it in cold storage. Are there varieties on the shelf that shouldn't be on the shelf anymore? Are they getting past their date? Is the beer selling? Should we be sending more? I care about all those little details. So I'm going to focus on you guys as if you were the future of our business, even though I'm going to be honest and tell you that may change when COVID is over.
You can lie. You can lie to me.
I mean,
tell him you'll be here forever. You'll always love him, and you'll always send care packages his way.
Yeah, no, it's as I said before, it's really hard to pull back from something that you get into because you develop friends and fans and stuff like that, and then it's those people don't like to see you go away. I mean, there are many other good breweries out there making awesome beers that could fill our shoes if we disappeared tomorrow. But you make friendships and you make connections, and those are hard to leave behind. So like if we find out we can sell more beer by going to Arizona, maybe that means we think a lot harder about putting in a bigger brew house or adding more tanks and stuff like that. That's going to increase our capacity and allow us to do, continue to do this stuff more consistently in the future, even if things do go back to normal in the tap room and all that volume does swing back into the tap room. So
See, now we're talking. Now we're talking. No, but seriously, like from a business perspective, for most breweries, it makes more sense to go deep than wide. But we're in extraordinary circumstances, and it requires extraordinary innovation on every producer's part. So, like, first of all, just kudos for taking a leap. I mean, obviously, you said you don't have control over every stage of distribution right now. And that's always been a real challenge for anybody considering getting into any kind of distribution market. But these are the times to cast a wide net. These are the times to look at, semi-affluent, thirsty markets like Phoenix and Tucson, where it's hot a lot longer and we drink a lot of beer. So yeah, give us some beer, especially if it's good product, especially if you have your DO under control on your packaging line. Like, it makes a lot of sense. And yeah.
Aaron, do you know how much they love big cans in Scottsdale, Arizona?
I don't know. I'm fixing to come down this winter and find out.
Sorry, I had to. It was right there.
That was the one, Brett. You killed me on that one.
Aaron, you talked about how your grandfather was a big outdoorsman. Are you a big outdoorsman as well, being in Minnesota?
Yeah, I love, like, even in the wintertime, I love getting outside. More last couple of years, I've recently got into fat tire biking, which is really big up here because of the snow in the winter. Fat tire mountain bikes are really well equipped to deal with snow and sand and just loose terrain of that nature. So fat tire biking in the winter up here is really, really awesome, and it almost makes the snow worth having just to do that, because the scenery is just it's amazing. It's like you're in a wonderland, and because there's snow everywhere, all the trees are covered, and you're just ripping through the forest on a fat tire bike on a groomed trail. It's really awesome. So
nice. I think you're speaking some of the language of Mr. Ledford up there, who's a big cyclist and outdoorsman. I do a lot of outdoor stuff as well. Adam has been outside.
Gonna show me the bike on the wall. What do you got there?
Oh, that's my Argon 18 Gallium Pro.
Nice.
Why is it on your house ready for this? What?
What? It's not on the wall. I'm sorry, Adam. I did everything that I could. The garage was full.
So
go ahead.
I like to get out. I was just telling you guys before the show, like I'm packing up for a hunting trip this weekend. We're going out to western North Dakota. Gonna look for some pheasants and grouse. So yeah, like to get outside a lot.
Yeah, my dad is just coming back from a hunting trip himself. I know Adam Ledford is a big camper. I have a question for you and for the audience. What is your drink of choice when out hunting or camping if you're not a hunter?
Let's say after hunting. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
I really like just grabbing like a simple beer that I don't really have to think much about when I'm hanging out by the campfire, whether it's after mountain bike ride or whatever it may be. I just kind of like grabbing a simple, refreshing beer, some sort of Pilsner or lager or something like that I can just really enjoy and don't think much about, because I'm usually trying to have a conversation with somebody, and I'm not in the mode to obsess over the beer that I'm drinking. I just want something simple and enjoyable at that point. Yeah, because my theory of drinking beers goes into a lot of different areas, but one of the big things that I like to tell people is, like, you have a different experience with the beer if you're with other people compared to if you're alone with that beer. You have a completely different experience. When you're with other people, when you're out at a bar, you're not thinking about your beer as much as you would be if you were at home on your couch, like watching a game or just talking to your wife or your girlfriend or whatever, and you're just having a more personal experience with that beer. You're looking at the label, you're reading the label, you're maybe looking it up on Untappd, you're smelling it, you're thinking about it, you're tasting it. you're devoting a lot of mental energy to that beer. But if you're hanging out with friends, you're just tipping them back at that point. And so in those situations, I like to have something that's just lower alcohol, easy to love. I used to really. Do you guys have hams down there?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yes, we do.
Nice. That's been a family tradition in my family, and I used to drink a lot of hams. I thought I'd never grow out of it, but over the last couple of years, I found myself being like, man, I gotta go with the craft pilsners. I gotta go with the craft lagers. I can't. I'm sorry, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's something really nice economically.
There we go.
There's something really nice about 50 cents or less a can, but fortunately in Arizona, and I'm sure somebody up in your area too, also produces something that's delicious and pretty inexpensive. So for us, Tombstone did a Tombstone Light. In Tucson, we have a Button that produces a beer called Crusher that's a Mexican lager. And it's my go-to now. Like, I don't want to pound 10%ers every day, but sometimes after a workout or after a hike or after a bike ride, I just really want like a 4.0% beer that's good and refreshing, you know?
By the way, 4.0 is a great beer name for a nice light beer.
IP, that's ours. That's Social Distance Drinking Club. No one else can use it.
I'm gonna put that on my list right after.
You son of a bitch.
Hey, if we can do a collab and you did the artwork, I want to see 4.0. That would be amazing.
0.0. Well, I'll see where it goes. We may do it. I don't know. Next light beer. But yeah, our version of that for me up here in Minnesota would be Surly's Helles Lager. They call it Hell. So it means light in German. But it's a nice hoppy lager. It's not quite a Pils, but it's nice and hoppy and refreshing. It's like $12 to $15 a 12 pack, so pretty affordable.
No, I'm all about that. Definitely all about that. What's your like? What are maybe some beers in your area that like your ordinary folks wouldn't know about? But like, what are some of the other like local bangers, or maybe like the Midwest bangers that like they're not seeing mass distribution?
Well, you're getting one of them, which is Black Stack.
Yes.
Have you guys seen that yet?
Oh, dude, I just picked up what was it called? Can Phone today. Like really good stuff.
Yeah, I would give a recommendation to Black Stack. And just because you guys are getting them in Arizona doesn't mean they're like widely distributed. They're not. They're kind of hard to find outside of the Twin Cities in Minnesota. So if you guys are getting them down there, it's a rare treat. So enjoy that while it lasts.
Yeah, we don't see much, but we see a couple of things. No, Beer Bob, that's a 3.2 beer, my friend. 3.2.
He still hasn't made that package size joke.
Well, I followed up with 4.0, but with humongous cans.
That's fair.
I read for like a minute, and that's what happens.
It happens. Yeah, no, Black Stack is seriously good stuff. They also did, oh God, I think it was them. Didn't they do dad jokes? Didn't we have that on the show? I'm pretty sure that Black Stack did dad jokes because I got extra cans because of that.
Yeah, and they're one of the breweries that chose to take a different route and package all their beer in 16-ounce pounders. They still offer crowlers at their tap room, but they're going to be filled off the tap. Our crowlers are never filled off the tap. Our crowlers are always filled off that canning line. And I think like if you really want to dig into it, I don't have a video to show you right now, but in the past we've posted videos of our canning line in action on I think Instagram and Facebook. So if you really want to be Sherlock Holmes about it, you can kind of dig back and find those if you want. But we do have a 6-head canning line that packages every single one of our cans.
A 6-head canning line. That's amazing. And B, I'm just still trying to envision what kind of a behemoth puts out those kind of cans in production, man.
Yeah,
That's
it doesn't. It definitely looks like it was made by. It definitely looks like it wasn't made by Wild Goose or Twin Monkeys. It looks like there were actually parts of it were made by Twin Monkeys, but it definitely looks like someone put it together from different components. The heart of the canning line is the 6 fill heads, which are based on Blickman beer guns. You guys are probably familiar with Blickman beer guns, right? They're a really nice tool for filling bottles because they have that tube within a tube system. They're just like really nicely engineered, which is why I chose them for the first rendition of our canning line, which was much more manually operated. But they're just really easy to clean. They work really well. You get the whole purge feature and everything. So yeah, our 6 fill heads are based on Blickman beer guns that they're operated by pneumatic cylinders. So instead of having a guy like pulling the handle on the beer gun, we have a computer PLC that tells the pneumatic cylinders when to open and close, opening and closing the beer gun, like CO2 purge, and then like opening and closing the fill heads.
Yeah, I'll say in my time in the brewery business, solenoid became a dirty word based on just like canning activity and keg cleaners. So no, I feel you on that. But it sounds like a pretty cool system, though. Sounds like we got a couple of other recommendations for good breweries in the area. Is it modest or modest? I'm still.
I think everybody up here says modest.
Okay, all right.
Don't ever say moist.
That's a beer name.
That's one that they hate getting. So if you ever have Keegan or one of the modest folks on the show, definitely go. So first things first, is it moist or modest?
I love the idea that it's only moist until you add the D.
Yeah, do something like that. They'll really appreciate it.
Let me see quickly as I scan frantically through the comments. Sounds like a Wild Mine Artisan, amazing from MSP. MSP?
Yeah, Minneapolis.
Oh.
Airline Wave, Minneapolis, like St. Paul, probably, or
Yeah, I think that's the airport abbreviation.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thanks for the rec tie.
I don't know. Are you guys getting Wild Mines? I don't know.
Ty, I mean,
In particular, the person who posted this, he's a friend of the show, and he travels for work quite a bit. In fact, he travels as work, so he knows every market in America for the most part.
He's a great person to be friends with when you like beer.
Indeed.
even if you didn't like beer, he's probably he's a good dude. Not just
very true.
I'm surprised
Aaron-
nobody has brought up Barrel Theory yet either. That one hasn't popped up in the comments. They're in St. Paul. They don't distribute much. They make probably a little less than half of the volume of beer that we make, and they're much more taproom focused. And I think through COVID, there you go.
Yes, that's from that. I made the comments.
Yeah, you can just do it yourself if nobody's doing it for you.
That's the guy that posts. He's the guy that still posts first in the comments sections.
Oh, I forgot to do that tonight.
Barrel Theory's solid, and they've been sending some beer out to distribution around the Twin Cities during COVID because their tap room's been largely just shut down, off sale only. So they've been getting out there a little bit more. I'm kind of doubting they're going to make it down to Arizona, but definitely worth a stop if you're ever in Minneapolis, St. Paul. There's so many places. Like I could just continue for probably hours on cool spots to see in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and like don't look at Untapped ratings. I mean, just kind of follow your heart and get some local recommendations because there's a lot of really awesome breweries around Minneapolis, St. Paul.
I
Yeah.
took your advice and looked at your Instagram page, and holy hell, does everything look amazing. It's also a really colorful Instagram page. You guys do a great job.
Awesome.
It's
Well,
really pleasing.
I will relay that feedback to the people who will appreciate it.
So the peanut butter bandit, that barrel aged barley wine. I don't even know what the king size thing is that was waxed, but I like that. I think so.
I think you would.
Are you? Is this like the husband and wife SNL skit with Adam Sandler and Chris Farley, where you just sit there reading the Zagat reviews of places that you're never going to go?
I've never seen that.
Oh, that one has a wax cap. It sounds delightful.
Oh, I mean, that's probably a hoot.
A lie in my statement. It doesn't exist. There's no lie there. This looks great.
I mean, Adam, you're just a quick flight to Minneapolis, St. Paul from.
I hear the flights. They've got like a snowbird flight thing set up. They're really cheap, is what I hear.
I thought snowbirds were a flightless creature.
Yeah, so we're coming for you. We're gonna we'll throw the mountain bike on the plane. And head down.
Yes.
I can join in for like the first quarter mile before I get tired.
Nice.
It'll be great.
Well, you guys have some terrain down there, so you probably have like all downhill segments where like you drive up to the top and then you just kind of take a big downhill you got to have a little bit of that somewhere.
There's definitely some downhill areas, and there's definitely just some like most everything in this area. And I'm speaking for Tucson, and I'm speaking, pardon my dog, I'm speaking for Phoenix as well. But there's a lot of out and back kind of stuff. So it's like it's a grueling like 10-mile up, and then it's just a bomber 10-mile back. And there are, we have enough like
So we'll pick you up halfway, Adam.
What's that?
I said we'll pick you up halfway, Adam.
Oh yeah. It'll be great.
Rolling 10-mile up. We'll pick you up.
We'll tether Adam, and we'll put one of the fishing poles with like a triple IPA like hanging in front of it. It'll be amazing. He'll fly uphill.
If you want to sample Gamgee my ass up the mountain, that's totally fine. You can. No, is that too obscure a reference for people? I feel bad about making it.
Well, I figure you heli lift to the upper point there, and then we just pick you up.
I think we just dangle a peanut butter barley wine in front of your face, but instead of reach the entire way.
That's the key. And we say like there's no guilt associated with you opening and finishing this beer, so you don't even have to give your like virtue signal on air. You could be like, no, I just opened it and drank it all myself. It was cool.
So I want to ask you guys a question.
Yeah.
What do you think that I should know or understand about the Arizona market, like in Arizona beer people, that you think is special or exceptional to your area?
Who wants to go first? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first because I probably have the least valuable thing to add here. I think Arizona, similar to what you were saying about Minnesota, is kind of underappreciated. Arizona has that same vibe in that we're probably 5 or 6 or so years into like starting to really get some top-notch breweries. And I could tell people, I think we could have a starting lineup of beers that I would put up against anybody. If I took like our top 5 beers or top 10 beers of certain styles, I think they would match up against anybody, especially like the big beer places traditionally, San Diego, Portland, wherever. Like we could do it. Our depth isn't as good. Our bench isn't as good, but it's getting there. So like if there's certain styles you like, we have it out here. Like certainly we do, but I think Arizona has that kind of we have the similar complex of, damn it, we're really good. Someone needs to recognize that. But it's an improving beer market, and the palates out here, like people are pretty discerning. People know what good beer is out here.
Yeah, I would add to that because I think for you personally, as you're trying to like maybe get more into the market, or I was going to say penetrate the market, but then Beer Bob would just come in with another package size comment. there is a fairly significant and growing industry or a population that supports like the craft beer industry that is very discerning, and we're close enough to San Diego and LA that we are able to get distribution from those places, and some of the stuff from like Northern California and Oregon, Portland, etc., New Mexico that actually has some really solid breweries. So we're kind of like, much like the population is kind of an imported population there's very few people such as myself that are originally from Arizona. There's a lot of good beers that also make their way here that have helped to develop not just our great breweries, but also the expectations of our consumer base. Lends itself well to a brewery that is able to get here as long as the product is good.
So do you think you guys get a lot more West Coast stuff or East Coast stuff?
Oh, a majority West Coast, just because of the temperature and the logistics. There's a lot of hurdles west to east, and it's such a short path east to. You know what I said. It's terrible east to west. It's very easy to get stuff from San Diego, LA, Pacific Northwest, just because the shipping routes are so much shorter and cleaner.
So I would say then you guys are probably drinking old school stuff. The new stuff in craft beer is coming more from the east than the west, which is kind of weird because the West Coast used to be with the exception of, I would say, the Northwest. There's some newer kind of stuff coming out of the Northwest, but I would say the bulk of the new stuff is coming from the East Coast, Northwest, and my experience in travel and just drinking beers and looking at the breweries and stuff like that is West Coast tends to be more old school, traditional West Coast style IPA. If a sour has fruit in it, then it's very dry. It's fermented out. It's
First of all,
yeah.
All this West Coast, East Coast talk is exactly what got Biggie killed. So let's cool it a little bit.
No, but what I would say, more to your previous question, is that
we don't, and I'm not trying to bash.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Here in Minnesota, we don't really get anything. So we gotta make our own good beer.
No, you're absolutely fine, and I think as far as generalizations go, there's some truth to that. I mean, like, East Coast has been progressing a lot of stuff, and they've been advancing and innovating in some interesting ways. But I think it's pocketed more than it is like truly bilaterally geographical. But
and it goes in waves too. Like maybe now it's more on the East Coast, but maybe in 5 years it's going to be more on the West Coast.
Yeah, and it'll just depend. Like the next hot thing, we don't know what it is. We think we do, but we don't.
No.
I would say, as far as the Arizona market is concerned, we have a top 10 most populous city, but people don't necessarily think of that. I would say more than anything, in a market that's gone beyond like an emerging craft market, and we're actually like a mature state as far as our appreciation and our understanding and our ability to procure through trade and distribution channels. The biggest thing is that we're still kind of thirsting for relevance. And so I think recognition and acknowledgement that we know what we're talking about and that we represent like a really strong amount of buying power in the United States market is pretty important. That's the theoretical side. Like, that's not going to be fixed overnight or by one brewery. But I think the other thing that's really important is that breweries who succeed here do two things. They engage on social media platforms and they admit their fucking mistakes. And I won't call anybody out, but I will say that the people who have not taken the time to just accept that hubris is real and that sometimes we're all wrong, they have been lambasted and they have been casted aside. The people who have said, that was wrong, I own it, or just that didn't go like you expected and I own it, that goes so far, along with the actually being accessible and approachable on Arizona Beer Enthusiasts and Tucson Fine Beer Group and these other channels. I think that's the true secret to success. Admittedly, knowing that everyone says that the step one is brew great beer, but there are so many other things that happen societally before it actually gets into anybody's hands. And I think that's the biggest misstep that I see. I'll stop preaching now. Sorry.
I was gonna say that was quite the soapbox.
You know me. Aaron, you probably don't know this, but oh, go ahead, Brett.
I was gonna say, if it tastes like a soapbox, then we're just gonna call that an experimental beer.
I was so nervous that you were actually going to name an Arizona beer when you.
No.
So it's interesting what Justin said about bringing all styles to relevance, because Colorado is one of my favorite beer markets because they do a pretty good job of that. I think where they're bringing in a little bit of everything, and a lot of the breweries there have. I don't want to say most, but a lot of the breweries there have a little bit of everything on their tap list. They've got pastry sours, pastry stouts, they got saisons, they got grisettes, they got IPAs, they got West Coast, East Coast. They've got like a lot of different things going on there. And I don't know, I can't speak to as much to Arizona, but that's really cool. And I think it's kind of a sign of a really mature market when you have a little bit of everything going on. And right now in Minnesota, we're a little bit like focused on a couple of different styles. So yeah, there you go, Justin. Yeah, I think in Minnesota, we're a little bit kind of focused in on a couple of different styles that are really dominant. And I feel like up in the Minnesota market, we tend to ping pong back and forth between different styles that are really hot, and then you move on to the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. And I don't know if that's just my perception of our market, or if that's happening across the, if I'm just perceiving that because I'm trying to run a brewery and I'm trying to be hyper focused on what's hot right now, what we should play with, or if it's just happening across the country and it's not unique to Minnesota. I don't really know, but that's what I perceive, is that we're kind of ping-ponging from one style to another. Is like, this is the hot thing now. Oh, now this is the hot thing now. Oh, now this is the hot thing now. And the guy brewing saisons, like, when is it my turn?
No, totally. Well, hey guys, we're at over an hour, and gosh darn, we've had such a good conversation. I'm pulling my Midwest vocabulary out. Gosh darn it, we've had such good conversation.
Crying in the mud there, don't you know?
You know what would be really appropriate is what we call a Minnesota goodbye, where we go on for another 30 minutes.
We
call the
a little bit and just, when people can't see what we're saying, so we can be honest about everything.
Yes,
we've done for the last 60 minutes. So, like, that option is there.
We totally do have that capability. And I just want to make sure, did anybody else get a re-beer? I grabbed a Dark Sky Rainy Days Hazy IPA, and it is also delicious. We had the good fortune of getting a whole lot of Dark Sky in today in Tucson. So,
dude, do you think I could get a re-beer with these two big cans in front of me?
Yeah.
My cans you got there, Brett.
So, Aaron, what were you saying?
So my wife gave me a little pit crew action here.
Oh my God!
Barrel aged, wake up late with maple. So this is a coffee stout, barrel aged coffee stout. What was this aged in? This was aged in Willet barrels, and this is the maple version of it. So this is tasting like really good breakfast sensation right now.
Can you put that in a box? You're not crazy out there. Like, come on, dude. Adam Green, what are you drinking?
With my last can of Renhouse Ingenuity. A terrific IPA that I felt like this was the time to drink it. And it's never a bad time to drink Ingenuity. So I wasn't wrong.
All right. Brett, did you open anything else, or no? You were on your second 25 ounce, right?
Yeah, I'm at 1.5 liters. Thank you very much.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean the metric system just makes
I was gonna say,
it easier.
because Minnesota loves the metric system.
Yeah, I mean,
So Aaron, before we go, we always do a toast. But before we go, is there anything else that you want the people to know? And that is in no way a total ripoff of Hot Ones.
I guess I would say that to speak to your point about being in touch and being accountable and whatnot, that you can contact us. I obviously, if you're in I forget what it's called, the Arizona Craft Beer Lovers page on Facebook, I commented in there, so you can find me on. You can find my comment on there. You can hit me up there. You can get on our website and you can email us. You can talk to us on social media. You can call us out if you don't like something. We might respond. We might not. That kind of depends on the context. But yeah, we're available. I'm here on this podcast because that's the kind of people we want to be.
There we go. Well, hey, Aaron, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. And cheers to everybody who's been watching along with us live. Thanks for tuning in later. If you're catching us late to the game, no worries. This has been another episode of Social Distance Drinking Club. Everybody behave yourself.
Nobody's got a big can joke to end it?